For decades, we've been told the story that if we just finished high school, went to college, and then got a good paying job, we would be set for life. We'd be able to buy a house, start a family, and save up for retirement. But now you know that that was all a lie. The people at the top never intended us to get out of this never ending rat race in the first place. And the school system, let's be real. As noble as school is when it comes to teaching young kids basic general knowledge, it was still created to churn out compliant workers and employees that serve these corporations. And then we have these corporations that no longer have any sense of loyalty towards their employees. These days, it's all about, the profits and the profit margins. It used to be that companies actually took the time and effort to train their employees. Now, that's no longer the case. Before you're even hired, you're expected to know everything. This is the case when it comes to fresh graduates with no experience. It's weird having to require them to have a ton of job experience straight out of college. What's more, companies no longer spend time or resources training and upskilling their employees. If you want to learn something new, you're no longer funded by the company. Instead, you have to spend your own salary, which sometimes isn't even enough to pay the bills, on courses and seminars. And while yes, I agree that we shouldn't be so dependent on these corporations and businesses, and that, we should be in charge of our own growth and learning, still, there used to be a time when companies actually valued their employees' growth. These days, they're more inclined to just let you go and fire you in favor of someone else. They pirate specialists from other companies and make them jump ship into their own business. Meanwhile, they force loads of overtime on you and assign you tasks that aren't even part of your job description. And then when you can no longer keep up, they gaslight you into thinking that you're lazy and incompetent. Let's face it, this world of the 9 to 5 is no longer serving us. Rather, it's only enslaved us into forever relying on these companies to help us put food on the table. So perhaps, instead of relying on them, we should just do what we want instead, right? Call me crazy, but I'd like to believe that we were put on this earth for a purpose. That life is not just meant to be lived out in school or in the office. We spend so much time doing the things that society wants us to do that we end up forgetting who we are and what we're capable of. To start off, one thing I believe that everyone on this earth is creative. We were born with the desire and the power to create. And not just art either, but just create something, anything that gives life more meaning and more purpose. Think back to when we were in kindergarten. We were inherently making a ton of drawings. Crayons used to be used up down to their nubs. Play-Doh was scattered everywhere. We were natural creatives until school beat that out of us. I don't believe that we're here simply to serve CEOs, managers, and billionaires. Rather, I believe we're here to serve the collective of humanity with our own unique gifts and talents. I've been told, for example, that while writing may come easy to me, it can also be incredibly difficult for other people. And while I believe that any skill can be learned with enough practice, I also believe that there are just some things that we're more inclined to pursue. Not everyone can be Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant, especially if you're only 5'7". Not everyone can be Stephen King or Vincent van Gogh. However, I believe that there are still certain unique things that you and I can do that deeply resonate with who we are and why we're here. Once upon a time, I followed everyone's advice. And now, here I am, a year away from my 40s, without a regular paying job, and not much to show for in terms of the legacy that I want to leave behind. I was there, at the beginning of this social media thing. I was one of the first ones to do social media marketing until everyone else began to follow suit. Now, I'm losing to 20-year-olds as we all compete for the same position. Partly because, they're cheaper and supposedly know how to market to their generation better. And I was the one of those people who had to learn through experience. I graduated with a degree in literature. And so coming out of college, there were barely any jobs for someone like me. I had to teach myself marketing. I read all the books, attended webinars, listened in on podcasts before podcasts became the trend that they are today. And I followed everyone's advice and improved myself to such a degree. And yet I'm still nowhere near the supposed successful life that people keep talking about. In fact, 2 years ago, or almost 2 years ago, I was let go from my job because I was one of the higher paid writers on the team. And AI was slowly taking over the SEO and marketing industry. Now, look where Google search is. It's now all about AI queries instead of actual SEO. Thankfully, I've been able to take on some freelance and consulting work just to stay afloat and pay the bills. But even then, I'm just so tired. I'm tired of the hustle this entire thing involves. I'm tired of spending 40 hours a week helping other people achieve their goals while I sit back and postpone mine. I'm tired of having an opinion or suggestions on how to market the boss's business, only for those same ideas to just get shot down and ignored. And so I've recently decided that, to hell with it. I'm just gonna do what I wanna do. And part of that desire is this YouTube channel and my writing. There's that line in Across the Spider-Verse where Miles tells Miguel, everyone keeps telling me how my story's supposed to go. Nah, I'ma do my own thing. I think this is well timed for the age that we're in. Maybe it's time that we stop allowing other people to dictate who we are, or what we're capable of, or what our path in life should be. Maybe it's time that we start to take control of our own lives and steer it in the direction that we want to go. I mentioned earlier that I took up literature in college. That's because one of my dreams has always been to be a writer, particularly a fiction writer. I love telling stories. I love writing about spaceships, fantastic worlds, magical creatures, and characters that readers would fall in love with. Before the pandemic happened, I was still writing actually. My brother and I were self-publishing this comic book series and selling copies in local comic conventions. We never made it big, but we got a pretty humble following for our work. The pandemic put a halt to all that though, and I ended up being consumed with work that I stopped writing entirely for several years. My brother, on the other hand, had kids and is now too busy to take on a side project. Now I'm slowly taking it up again. I'm slowly getting into the groove once again. I'd grown so tired for so long that it took me a while to recover and rediscover myself and what it is I wanted to do. And I decided that it was time I stopped bowing down to the man and started standing up for myself. I believe we all have a specific mission in life. Ever since I was made redundant more than a year ago, I spent a lot of time trying to find myself. I did a lot of self-inquiry and self-discovery. In that time, I stumbled upon this concept in numerology called the life path number. It's a number that you get by calculating your birth date. You're supposed to add up the individual numbers or something. Anyway, the number you get at the end of the equation is then supposed to give you an idea of what your purpose in life is supposed to be. As crazy as it sounds, when I actually did this calculation, I was very surprised. What my life path number revealed about me sort of resonated deep within my soul. I'm a life path 3, you see. And for number 3s, creativity and self-expression are an important part of who they are. It's said that a lot of people with the life path 3 often end up as artists, actors, actresses, musicians, and writers. And what's even more interesting about this life path number thing they say is that when you start to follow your life path, then you're more likely to see success in your life. Now, I know, I get it. It sounds too good to be true, sounds incredibly optimistic. However, at this point in time, with the economy the way that it is, and with these billionaires breathing down our necks, pushing us out of our jobs with AI, and trying to exercise more control over our freedoms, what do I have to lose, right? If the ship is going down, then I might as well enjoy my time here, doing the things that I love and expressing my creativity in the best way that I know how. I love gaming, and so I'm going to talk about how gaming changed my life. I love anime, and so I'm also going to talk about how anime continuously changes my views and perspectives. I also love stories, and so I'm going to create as many stories as I can for as long as I live. So, what about you? Maybe you're in the same boat as I am. Doesn't matter if you're a millennial like me, or Gen X, or Gen Z. Maybe, just maybe, it's about time we take back our lives and actually put in more effort to create the kind of lives that we actually want to live. In this day and age, with the internet basically at our fingertips and knowledge everywhere, I mean, it's easy to learn a skill like writing or video editing and then just put your work out there. It's easy to create graphics, images, and thumbnails and practice your speech. If you want to write a book, go ahead and do it. If you want to create an album, don't let anyone stop you. If you want to direct a movie, and there's lower barriers of entry in this day and age than ever. Stop trying to look outside yourself for permission and just go out and create. Because if not now, then when? I mean, don't be like me who's wasted years of my life chasing after financial security in the form of a paycheck. That system just doesn't work anymore. Maybe it was never meant to work. So stop letting everyone tell you how your story is supposed to go. Nah, it's time to do your own thing.